replace the late Honorable Dr. Tsvangirai. We held that extraordinary Congress on the 27th of December 2022. At the 27th of December 2020. And at that Congress, I was elected as the president of the party, substantive president of the party. Our ordinary Congress was due, and then 2 years later, on the 18th of December 2022, we held our ordinary Congress. The extraordinary Congress was not challenged by anyone, so its results stand. The ordinary Congress has been challenged by Honorable Mzuri, Mr. Kakora, Mr. Konjana, and Mr. Nyika and Mr. Moyo. It is this judgment that was then delivered on the 28th of February. We totally, as the MDC, disagree with that judgment on the following grounds. Firstly, that in this judgment, the court has allowed people who are no longer members of the MDC to challenge processes of the MDC. It has allowed people who are now in ZANU PF to come and say the MDC Congress was not well done. So it has allowed the opponent to have a say in the affairs of us, their opponents. Now, I'm talking specifically about Gift Konjana, who has joined ZANU PF and was paraded at ZANU PF Mashonaland West. He has come back to say that the Congress of the MDC and the leadership of the MDC is in fact not the leadership of the MDC. So we disagree. It is tantamount to asking Highlanders to select a coach for Dynamos, and we do not agree with that. The second thing is that the court ruled that holding our Congress 6 days out of time was fatal to that Congress. Our Congress was supposed to be held 30 days after the notice. We held it 24 days after the notice because there was Christmas. They are saying that those 6 days are fatal to the holding of the Congress. They are saying we should have held the Congress 30 days after the notice and not 24 days after the notice. But what is important is that the same Congress, which governs all the affairs of the party, went on to say we are condoning these 6 days. So we totally disagree with that. The MDC has a constitution, and that constitution allows the Congress to condone departures from certain timelines. The third is that the court ruled that the people who were not at the Congress can speak authoritatively about what happened at that Congress. So all the applicants were not at the conference center where we held the Congress, and they were allowed to say what happened to the Congress. In law, we say that is hearsay. And even when you go to issues of elections, you cannot challenge an election in which you did not take part. So you cannot challenge a Congress in which you did not participate. So this gentleman did not participate in the Congress. And then the fourth problem with this judgment is that it simply nullifies the Congress. It does not tell us to redo the Congress. It also does not tell us within what time to redo the Congress. And therefore, it is a totally meaningless judgment. And the aim of this judgment seems to have wanted to keep the MDC leaderless. And I'll come to that later. We as the MDC totally disagree for the reasons I've given with this judgment. We have this morning noted an appeal against the judgment, and we have appealed to the Supreme Court. It is well known that an appeal suspends the decision appealed against. Therefore, this unsound judgment, it remains suspended, and nobody can enforce it, and nobody can benefit from it. And that is what the situation is like. the status quo has now been restored by virtue of our appeal. But even if we had not appealed against this judgment, what it does is that it does not interfere with the power dynamics within the MDC. What it does is that it nullifies the 2022 Congress, but it then restores the leadership as elected at the extraordinary Congress. And the leader elected at the extraordinary Congress is the current president. So it so happened that the person elected at the extraordinary Congress was also elected at the ordinary Congress. So what that means is that we go back to the leadership as elected at the ordinary Congress, at the extraordinary Congress, which has not been challenged by anyone. So I remain the president of the MDC with the full constitutional authority, with the full powers in terms of the Constitution, including powers to make certain appointments in terms of Section 9 of the Constitution of the MDC, including power of discipline over members of the National Standing Committee. But also, this judgment does not reinstate people who were expelled by the MDC National Council. So the applicants were expelled by the National Council. The Constitution, the judgment does not say that they have been reinstated. So the position remains. So even if we do not appeal, we had not appealed against this judgment, the leader remains the same. The leadership that is there remains the same. And therefore, this judgment is basically meaningless. I want to zero on the meaning of this judgment on Honorable Mwonzora. Honorable Mwonzora, as you know, was the vice president of the MDC, having been elected by the National Council immediately after the extraordinary Congress. It is not true that Honorable Mwonzora was elected at the extraordinary Congress. At the extraordinary Congress, Honorable Mwonzora, Honorable Komichi, Honorable Kupe, and myself contested for the post of president. And here are the scores. Honorable Komichi had 9 votes. Honorable Mwonzora had 14 votes. Honorable Kupe had 118 votes. And I had 888 votes. Therefore, Honorable Mwonzora was not elected at the extraordinary Congress. Honorable Mwonzora was then elected at the meeting of the National Council, sitting as a continuation of Congress as a vice president. Now, what Justice Zhou's judgment has said is that the National Council cannot sit as a continuation of Congress. It therefore means that the election of Honorable Mwonzora as the vice president at the National Council is null and void. What that means is that he reverts back to the position to which he was appointed by former President Kupe, and that is the position of vice national chairperson. So Honorable Marara, for example, was not elected by anyone. I see he is not part of the judgment. Having said that, ladies and gentlemen, we as the MDC are a democratic party, and we are very much willing to engage with anyone, including Mr. Mwonzora's group, the applicants. They are free to approach us. They are free to engage with us. After all, they are our colleagues. And we are waiting for them. If they want to engage us, they are welcome to engage. If they want to come back to the party, they are welcome to come back to the party. And when they come back to the party, if they want to take part in the internal processes of the party, they are welcome to come to take part in the internal processes of the party. They are very much welcome, because this is part of our big tent philosophy. So if they want to come, they are allowed to come. We have seen the discussions that they were having in their groups, and their discussion is that because of this judgment, there is no leader of the MDC. They are wrong. There is a leader of the MDC, and the leader is myself. And they have also said that it should be Congress within 6 months. Justice Zhou did not give the time period within which the Congress must be held. In fact, Justice Zhou did not say that the Congress must be held again. You see? So where they are getting the 6 months, nobody knows. But they are wrong. And they are also saying that somebody else must convene the Congress. Now, the Congresses of the MDC are convened by one person, and that is the president. Justice Zhou's judgment did not suspend the constitution of the MDC. The constitution of the MDC remains intact, and it is me who is going to call for the Congress when the Congress is due. But I also want to make this clear, that if we are going to go for the ordinary Congress, we will have to start with the Congresses of the branches. So there will be branch Congresses, and to just give you an idea of how many those Congresses are, it's 2009 times 5. I don't know what the figure is, but you have an idea. 2009 wards, and each ward has 5 branches. Therefore, we are going to have 2009 times 5 branch Congresses first. Then we will have ward Congresses, and there are 2009 wards. So we are going to have 2009 Congresses of the wards. Then there is going to be election of the districts. So there are district Congresses, and we have 210 districts. So we are going to have 210 Congresses. And then we are going to have provincial Congresses, and the MDC has 15 provinces. It has 12 provinces in Zimbabwe, and it has 3 extra external provinces. And those are in Zimbabwe with Harare, Manicaland, Mashonaland East, Mashonaland West, Mashonaland Central, Midlands North, Midlands South, Mashingo, Mat North, Mat South, Bulawayo, and Chitungwiza. So we have 12 provinces internally and 3 provinces outside. So we are going to have, before we go to the main Congress, we are going to have 15 provincial Congresses. And at those provincial Congresses, we will have the nominations of the national leadership. And then after that, we will have the main Congress. What Justice Zhou has ruled is that the non-holding has ruled is that there was no youth Congress. That is not true. The youth Congress was held, and Albert Chidako was elected as the chairperson of the Youth Assembly together with his leadership, and the minutes are there. The only Congress that was not held was the Women's Congress. And Justice Zhou has ruled that the non-holding of the Women's Congress nullifies the main Congress. He is mistaken. What happens is that the delegates are the same. So they come into the Congress, and when the Congress has been fully constituted, it breaks into the Women's Congress is then held, the Youth Congress is then held, and then the main Congress is held. The delegates are the same. Ladies and gentlemen, I have said that we as the MDC welcome everyone, all the democratic forces. People who want to come back home to the MDC are free to come back. Tendai BT is free to come back. Welshman is free to come back. Chamisa is free to come back, provided they follow the constitution of the MDC in coming back. What we won't accept at the MDC is some hostile takeover. This party has a leadership, this party has a constitution. I want to thank you.
very much, members of the press. Do you have any questions? I'll start from. Do you have questions?
Just not can happen on him to the children. You also want to take it to the much difficult to show.
Okay, I think there's anybody who wants to say something.
Thank you. Nemusi wa 28 February dare re-high court rakapa mutongo wekuti Congress yedu yakaitika muna 2022 musi wa 18 December haina kuitwa nemazvo, ikabva yati Congress iyoyo haisi pamutemo. Zvazvinoreva ndezvekuti utungamiri hwakavhoterwa pa-extraordinary Congress ndihwo hunoramba huri utungamiri hwe-MDC. Pa-extraordinary Congress pedu pakavhoterwa munhu mumwe chete kuita president achitsiwa watsvangirai. Munhu iyeye ndini ndakavhoterwa kuita president webato. Zvazvinoreva ndezvekuti ndinoramba ndiri president webato iroro. High Court yakataura zvakare kuti hazvichabvumirwa kuti National Council yogara secontinuation yeCongress. Saka tapedza extraordinary Congress takagara pasi seNational Council tikavhotera vamudzuri savice president weparty. Dare rakatonga kuti izvozvo hazvisi pamutemo. Zvazvinoreva ndezvekuti nyangwe vamudzuri vakadzoka havakwanisi kudzoka savice president, vanokwanisa kudzoka chete savice national chairman akaappointwa naDr. Thokozani Kupe. Asi isusu seMDC hatibvumirane nezvemutongo wakapiwa naJustice Joe uyu. Mutongo uyu wakashata pakuti number 1 unobvumidza vanhu vasisiri nhengo dzeMDC kuti challenge ma-elections eMDC. Kune vanhu pama-applicants apa vakatojoina ZANU PF vauya nemutongo uyu kuzoti bato reMDC harina kuvhoterana mazviro kwazvo. Saka hatingabvumire kuti coach weDynamos, kuti Dynamos yosarudzira Highlanders coach. Ndo zviri kuitika pano. Vazhinji vanoziva baba vanonzi vakonja navaya vakaparedwa kuMashonaland West uko senhengo yeZANU PF. Wauya kukoti vakati iwo Congress yeMDC haina kuitwa nemazvo, tinorambirana naizvozvo. Tiri kuona isusu kuti mutongo uyu wapiwa panguva iyo isu seMDC tiri kurambirana nenyaya ya 2030. Takambozviona rimwe gore takarambirana nedelimitation, tikarangwa zvakaomarara nezeki, takarambirwa vanhu vedu 87 kuti vaite macandidates nekuti tanga tachallenja delimitation report. Iko zvino taakunzi tiite Congress zvakare nokuti tiri kurambirana ne2030. I want to say we are going to attenuate our fight against the 2030. We will never allow anybody to intimidate us against fighting the 2030 agenda. So if there is a faction within ZANU PF that has a hand in this judgment, we say tough luck to you. We are going to intensify our fight against the 2030 agenda. We will never allow the emasculation of our constitution. We will never allow being bullied against defending our constitution. The MDC is a stockholder in this constitution. It is party to the drafting of the constitution. The people of Zimbabwe are stockholders in this constitution. They spoke during the outreach program on what they wanted in the constitution. They spoke during the referendum on what they wanted in this constitution. And what they said they wanted in this constitution is that a president must run the country for a maximum of 10 years, after which they must go home. And we are saying, President Mnangagwa, after the expiry of your term in 2028, go home. And nothing is going to intimidate us against from that path. So no amount of intimidation, no amount of harassment, no amount of lawfare is going to defeat us in this agenda. We are joined in this agenda. As you know, the MDC was the first to speak against the 2030. We were then joined by the church. We were joined by the other political parties. We were joined by civil society. We were joined by war veterans in fighting against the 2030 agenda. So these games, we don't countenance them. So when time comes, the MDC will hold its Congress, because it has always held its Congresses. And I, as the president of the MDC, is willing to face anyone in a Congress. I'm willing to face Mwonzora. I'm willing to face anybody in the Congress. And we know what the outcome of that Congress would be. We know they will be defeated. ZANU PF knows they will be defeated. They know they will be defeated. Chandiri kureva pande chekuti nyangwe zvikadini isu tichiramba nyaya dzekuti vaMnangagwa vatonge kusvika 2030. Tiri kurambirana nekuti vaMnangagwa watonge kwe3rd term, nokuti vana veZimbabwe vakavhota vakati munhu anovhoterwa sapresident anotonga kwemakore 10, after that anoenda kumba kwake. Saka isu toti vaMnangagwa kana 2028 yasvika, endai kumba munotaurira vazukuru venyu ngano, kwete zvekuti munhu anenge ane 86 years old tomupazve dzimwe 5 years. Isu seMDC taramba ipapo. Saka hatina kutyidzirwa kwatingaitwa, kwatinobvuma futi seMDC. Ticharamba tichiita maprogram edu. Nokudaro tiri panyaya iyoyo. Musi wechitatu tine sangano redu reNational Standing Committee. Tichazodedzera National Council yedu tichiwapira zvataita. Tinenge tine musangano yedu yatichaita throughout the country tichiramba 2030.
Saka muri kuti zvakabuda rere High Court zvinogona zvichida kukanganisa bato renyu nekuda kwekuti muri kuramba kuti mutungamiri wenyika vaEmmerson Mnangagwa vatonge kusvika 2030.
Ndizo chaizvo, nokuti nyaya iyi yakaendeswa mukoti muna 2023 haina kutongwa, 2024 haina kutongwa, 2025 haina kutongwa. Yazotongwa taita zvinhu zviviri. Chekutanga tanga taramba nyaya ye2030. Chechipiri vakativenga vakaona zvatakaita kwaHomanikwa, apo zvakaratidza kuti bato reMDC ramuka. Vanhu vakaona kwaHomanikwa, wakaona uwandu hwevanhu hwakauya kuMDC. Kune vanhu vakanga vaenda kune mamwe mapolitical parties, wana Triple C, wana Blue Movement, wana National Working Group wakudzoka. Saka ibhindauko rekuti MDC tisatarisa kumberi, titange kutarisana kuti achaita president ndiani, achaita secretary general ndiani. Mutongo wakapiwa na Justice Joe wakataura zvakare kuti endai munovhotera secretary general na deputy secretary general. Handifungi kuti tine dambudziko nazvo. Vana veMDC vanogona kuvhotera muchero ani nani zvake wavanoda. Saka tiri kuzviona kuti kune kafaction kemuZANU PF kane chekuita nezviri kuitika izvi muno muMDC. Saka tinoda kungoti vana veMDC vagare vakavhura maziso avo, vagare vakachenjera, nekuti takambozvionazve patakaita challenge yedelimitation. Takarangwa zvakaipisisa neZEC, takarambirwa vanhu vedu 87 kuti vaite nhengo, vaite macandidates paparliament. Iko zvino tataura nyaya yekuti 2030 handizvo, hatina kumboti isu tikuda kubvisa nhingi, hatina kumbodaro seMDC. Tati isusu Mnangagwa kana chida kupedza temu yake anopedza temu yake, asi inopera muna 2028. Temu yava Mnangagwa haipere muna 2030. Ndo patiri kurambirana ipapo. Kana paina vanoda kuabvisa ibato ravo iro, hatinei nazvo. Isusu hatimo mumafaction eZANU PF. Kurwa kwavari kuita, kunyombana kwavari kuita ndezvekumba kwavo, hatinei nazvo. Isu chatiri kuramba sevana veMDC ndechekuti munhu aende ku2030.
Yes, I'll start from the front.
Senator Mwonzora, you alluded to the fact that ZANU PF may have a hand in this latest judgment. My question is, how certain are you that ZANU PF had a hand in this, given that in some circles the MDC is considered dead following the departure of Nelson Chamisa?
Well, first of all, you can't say you are in a dead organization. Right now, you are facing a leadership that is speaking, a leadership that is intact, a leadership that is strong. The fact that a party goes through turbulence, does not mean it dies. It's part of the strengthening of a political party. Some people say when you want to strengthen steel or iron, you burn it, isn't it? So the MDC went through the cauldron. It has been burnt. It has gone through a lot of turbulence. But one thing that every Zimbabwean knows is that the MDC has not died. It has resurrected if it had died. Just watch Humanikwa. Just watch the consistency of the MDC. It was consistent against delimitation. It was consistent, it is consistent with defending the Constitution. And it is daring the consequences. We are daring the consequences. Why are we saying ZANU PF may be involved? I didn't say it is involved. I said it may be involved. Because a faction of ZANU PF came to some of our leaders to say that they must remove me because I'm an obstacle to the 2030 agenda. We have that on record. They came, they approached some of the leaders, top leaders, to say, please remove Mr. Mwonzora because Mwonzora will not agree on 2030. So, chembere yotsakatika, berero rutsemvi, ndo zviri kuitika panapa.
Some are saying the judgment is a declarator. It cannot be appealed. How do you rebut such statements?
I don't have to rebut.
Especially advising the grassroots people.
I don't even have to rebut it because it is wrong. That's a wrong statement. You can appeal against any judgment except an interlocutory judgment. And I need to explain here. The appeals are governed by Section 43 of the High Court Act. And the Section 43 that says that any appeal, civil appeal from the High Court goes to the Supreme Court. And it goes on to say there are certain judgments that cannot be appealed against. And those are judgments to deal with interdict, spoliation orders, or temporary applications, interlocutory application. This is a final judgment. This is a declarator. It is appealable against. So this is coming from people who don't know anything about law. I'm seeing it's coming from the groups, the Muzuru groups and so on and so forth. They have no lawyer at all. They've, in fact, very, very poor, low-quality lawyers are advising them. So you can appeal against a declarator in terms of Section 43 of the High Court Act. And what is important, sir, is the effect of the appeal. The appeal then suspends the decision appealed against. Now, what does that mean? That means we go back to square one. MDC members must not lose sleep. We must go to Kachechete on the 13th of March to celebrate with our councillors who won in 2023. We must hold Harare Provincial Assembly. Wazumba is going to arrange one maybe this week. This week we are meeting the provincial chairpersons. Life goes on as usual. But as I said, those who want to engage us are free to engage us, including Honorable Mzuri and his group. And I'll be very happy to see his lawyers to say, where are you? Katui, where did you get this? Ngapi, loko. That you cannot appeal against a declarator.
Supplementary questions? None. Okay. I think, Mr. President, we have come to the end of our press conference. Do you need to say that?
Oh, thank you very much, Mr. Damba. I want to thank again members of the press for coming, members of the party who are here, Harare Province. We want to thank you, members of staff of the MDC. We want to thank you. We have been joined by our national chairperson, General Sox. He delayed because he told me he was coming from Chitungwiza. But I'm happy that he's around. So thank you very, very much. Thank you.
Thank you, members of the press. Thank you so much.